You
It's
don't
brought
want
to us by
somebody
Scheiben
wishy-washy.
Jewelers, Cleveland's premier jewelry store. Hello, D.
Hey, Daryl.
Hello, boys.
How are you?
Happy Jesse Minter Day.
Thank you. Thank you. How are you celebrating?
I'm celebrating by speaking with you, fine gentlemen.
Ah, nice. That's the way to go. We chatted about this early on. Thoughts, and I understand, I kind of understand why. Why do you think the Browns would talk to Jesse Minter when they have a defensive coordinator that they like very much, who has already interviewed for the head coaching job, and a guy who was a defensive coordinator just got kicked out of Buffalo with the 15th best winning percentage in NFL history for a coach?
Because they're exploring all their options, just because they interviewed Jim Schwartz, just because they would like to retain Jim Schwartz doesn't necessarily mean that Jim Schwartz is the best option going forward as the head coach. So this is just all part of the due process that they're doing. And I know fans and some media are frustrated that this is taking forever, but that's how these things go. And, certain people are only available at certain times. And, Nate Scheelhaase isn't available to talk till next Monday at the very earliest. So that's just the way she goes. So hopefully by this time next week, we'll have a head coach.
I'm cutting right to the chase. Daryl, who do you want and who do you think is going to get it?
I don't want any of them, but I think it's going to come down to Nate Scheelhaase and Grant Udinski.
What happened to pitcher?
He did not get a second interview.
I know. Are you surprised at that?
A little bit.
Given his background with Andrew Berry as well.
Yeah, I mean, and, also within division and whatnot, but he did not advance to the second round.
Daryl, let me go backwards here. Who do you want?
I told you, Andy, I don't want any of them.
Yeah, I'm not saying that. You got to pick somebody, then go off the board.
Well, the guy I wanted's in New York, so...
Yeah, that was easy, and I agree with you completely.
I wanted the search to begin and end there.
That would have been a nice move, but
because
it didn't happen.
I don't think any of these guys are coming in here and changing anything. I really don't. They might run a different scheme or what, but nothing's materially going to change if you hire any of one of these kids. They're still going to do business the same way, and the way they do business leads to double-digit loss seasons all the time. So,
the Buffalo Bills fire Sean McDermott. He's available. His name's not been out there very much yet for anybody. Daryl, would he be a good new head coach of the Cleveland Browns?
Well, obviously, he's the most accomplished, right?
Yes.
Of the people that are available. And if you hired him, I don't think you're keeping Jim Schwartz. And I think part of the goal here is if they don't hire Jim Schwartz as the head coach, then they're going to want to keep him as the defensive coordinator, and whether that comes with a bump in pay or a bump in title, we call him assistant head coach or something like that, remains to be seen. But if you bring him in, McDermott, that is, then you're probably, and the same thing goes with Jesse Minter. Like if they hire Jesse Minter ultimately, right, after they complete the Rooney Rule process and all their interviews, and they go with Jesse Minter, I don't think Schwartz is staying either, because he's going to look at that and say, listen, I interviewed twice for this job, well, technically 3 times, but I interviewed 2 separate cycles for this job. You went ahead and hired another defensive-minded guy after I produced very good defenses the last couple of years, and I turned the franchise defensive player from a perennial All-Pro, perennial Pro Bowl player into a future Hall of Famer. And this is my thanks. Why am I going to stay here? So
I agree completely.
I think that while, I don't think it'd be a terrible hire if they went with McDermott, and I think of what is available to them right now, it might be the best path forward, but it would come at the cost of losing Jim Schwartz, which is something I don't think that they really want to do.
But, Daryl, you tell me, that could get in the way of hiring the right guy, couldn't it? I mean, if you don't want to hire Jim Schwartz as your head coach, you can't worry about whether he's your defensive coordinator or not.
Well, just from this standpoint, though, Jeff, whoever you bring in, right, if you lose Schwartz, you want them running the same system as he does.
Well, I would agree with that.
Because you spent 3 years building a roster and investing in that scheme, and it has paid dividends, right? This is, I've said this before, this is one of the very few times since 1999 where the Browns have had stability in an area, been able to invest in that area, and seen tangible proceeds from that, okay? And I don't like that doesn't need to change. And I think that this one of the driving reasons behind their desire to keep Schwartz is they recognize what a good job he's done on that side of the ball. They recognize, not only the progress but the results on that side of the ball. Their problem is on the offensive side. That's where the issue is. Well, we'll throw special teams in there as well. But, the issue, and listen, that's been a problem for the most part since 1999. 8 times since this team has come back, 8 times in 27 seasons. This stat's going to blow you away. 8 times in 27 seasons, the Cleveland Browns have averaged more than 20 points per game. 4 of those times occurred under Kevin Stefanski.
Wow.
Okay? By the way, 20 points is average in the National Football League. That's a C grade. So that means just 8 times since they came back, they have had an average producing offense. The rest has either been below average or complete abject failure. So, and obviously we know the reason why. They're 42 quarterbacks deep. So they got to fix the quarterback. I understand that, but the issues with this team going forward need to be addressed on the offensive side of the ball. And again, I think that is why they seem so intent on wanting to retain Jim Schwartz. I kind of feel like if he becomes the head coach, it's a fallback option. Also, too, it's not going to be a long-term solution. They'll be replacing him within a year to 3.
So, Daryl, what can we read in then to the fact that Tommy Rees is heading to Atlanta with Kevin Stefanski? Given the fact that they've said, okay, these guys we're going to release Tommy Rees to go and take a lateral job. What do we learn by that?
Well, that they're not going to keep Rees here, and obviously Kevin believes and feels that the problem was not with him or his system or, the guy he put in charge of his system, Tommy Rees, right? Mm-hmm. The problem was personnel related. And quite frankly, I think Kevin Stefanski's got a pretty good argument there. Be interesting to see how things work in Atlanta as he kind of gets the band back together. Bill Callahan's going down there, obviously one of the best in the business when it comes to offensive line coaches. We saw what Stefanski did successfully with Nick Chubb, and let's put Kareem Hunt into that mix as well. Bijan Robinson is a hybrid of both those players, right? And he's already a great player. So it's going to be interesting to see if Stefanski is able to elevate what Bijan Robinson already does great. So, but that's what I take from that, is that clearly he is of the belief that Andrew Berry did him absolutely no favors the last 2 years.
Daryl Ruiter joining us. He's our Browns beat reporter. He's our Cleveland beat reporter. Covers everything there is to cover in Cleveland sports for us here at The Fan. This situation here in Cleveland feels so close to what is going on in Buffalo right now, except the Bills have a quarterback and the Browns don't.
And they've made the playoffs on a more consistent basis than the Browns have in the last 40 years.
But with structure and what just played out. The GM won what apparently was a power struggle, and the GM won the same thing here.
And everything was the coach's fault, right?
Everything, well, with both guys, everything was the coach's fault, apparently.
By the way, the Browns have had some whoppers of press conferences over the years.
Nothing like yesterday, huh?
I got it. You know what? Standing ovation to the Buffalo Bills. Welcome to the club. Very well done, Terry Pagula. Very well done.
Was it weird to you when he came out and said the coaching staff pushed for Keon Coleman like absolute crazy, and then within like an hour, all over the internet, everybody posting Brandon Beane saying, boy, I really want Keon Coleman. He's going to be my guy.
Wasn't that classic?
It's like, oh, my God, please.
Oh, it was beyond fantastic.
With that in mind a little bit, we were chatting earlier, Daryl. right now it appears of the three thought partners, the only one left is Andrew Barry, and that it would appear he's taken on a little more responsibility because Paul DePodesta is not here. Would this team benefit from what Atlanta just did, where you hire a director of football, basically a football president like Matt Ryan, and the GM and the coach report to that guy who talks to the owner? Or do you like the idea where a coach is talking to the owner and a GM's talking to the owner and everything else? Which is what John Harbaugh now has in New York.
Right. I do like the Falcon structure. That's what I'll say. I like the Falcon structure.
Yeah, me too.
All right, Daryl, I want to dive into this just because I want your take on it. What'd you think of the Baker Mayfield tweet after Orlando Ledbetter said that Kevin Stefanski had a dumpster fire quarterback, Baker Mayfield, Deshaun Watson failed, and then...
I think he was wrong on that, though, don't you?
Yeah, he was.
Baker
got to the playoffs, won a playoff game. Yeah. I don't know necessarily you can say Baker failed, but he did fail in the sense that the organization moved on from him, okay?
Well said.
And Nick and I had an argument about this yesterday. Here's my whole take on the situation. I have problems with people that treat people with disrespect, then complaining about not being treated with respect themselves. That's the issue I have with it. Okay, hindsight being 2020, the Browns probably should have stuck with Baker. He obviously would have been better than what we've had the last couple of years with Deshaun. The Browns the Browns were 100% justified in moving on from Baker Mayfield. The Browns are 100% justified in not wanting to invest $35+ million per year in him, okay? The manner in which they did it was complete garbage. They did not handle that situation well, and they brought in the wrong guy, right? You can't put out a stand, and I'll give Nick, and if you missed it, I'm sure you can go back and watch it on YouTube or on the Odyssey Rewind there, but Nick was right when he said, hey, you can't put out there, through sourcing that you wanted an adult in the room and then you go out and bring in somebody with the baggage that Deshaun Watson has. And he's 100% correct in that. So the execution of how the Browns moved on from Baker was wrong. They handled it poorly. They brought in the wrong guy, okay? But I do feel like they were justified in moving on from Baker. And to your guys' point earlier about, hey, you take him to dinner, see how he treats the wait staff, see how he orders food, right? Same thing, right? It comes down to how you treat people. And I witnessed a lot of stuff with my own 4 eyes, and I heard a lot of stuff with my 2 ears in which that Baker expressed a tremendous amount of immaturity, okay, and disrespect towards people. And I realized, again, to Nick's point that he made with me yesterday, quarterbacks aren't Boy Scouts, players aren't Boy Scouts. I get that. That doesn't justify it. That doesn't make it right, okay? And also, too, your production equals tolerance. If you're a great player, they're going to look the other way. They were willing to look away at all the baggage Deshaun Watson came with because they felt he was a great player, and this move was in the best interest of the franchise. They were willing to look away with all of that. And, oh, by the way, so were Browns fans, okay? I saw the lines at training camp that first year of the women with their little girls and the guys that could not get in line fast enough to get a picture and an autograph with Deshaun. And that's what the Browns were banking on. The issue was not available to play, and when he did, or was available to play, he didn't play very, very well. So that's just where I am with the Baker thing. He's still obviously thinking about his time here in Cleveland and his departure in Cleveland. By the way, the Carolina Panthers didn't want anything to do with him. Wasn't he running scout team defense at some point? And then he ended up in Los Angeles with the Rams, who also let him go, and now he's found a home in Tampa. And I think that's where Baker Mayfield's focus ought to be, is in the present and what he's going to do to continue to win divisions for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. But made for great content, made for great conversation and whatnot. But again, you don't get to play the I've been disrespected card when you spend the better part of your day being disrespectful to people.
Daryl, thank you.
Thank you, Daryl.
You bet, guys.
Daryl Ruiter, brought to us by Scheiben Jewelers, Cleveland's premier jewelry store.